welcome everyone to the Best Damn Podcast. I am your host, John Keane. As always, I would like to thank you guys for joining me. Ask that you please add, follow, and check us out, www.thebestdampodcast.tv. Follow me, Instagram, Best Damn Podcast, Twitter, The Real Best Damn, and wherever you're watching from, please make sure to hit that like and give us a thumbs up. Leave a comment, let me know what you think. Share this link, get it out there, that way new people can find us, new people can see us. And don't forget to follow and subscribe and click that bell, that way you can get all of the notifications. And keep in mind, guys, we are completely viewer powered. That means we're fully funded and supported by you, the listener, and the viewer. So if you get something out of tonight's broadcast and you enjoy the work we do here, consider donating and supporting today, guys. It is greatly appreciated. Not only is that how we keep it all going, that's how I keep myself going. So trust me and believe me when I say big ups and big thanks to all of you guys and all your contributions and everybody who does donate and support to the channel. Also, everyone who does too. You will be able to catch the weekly private and uncensored shows that we have on the Best Damn Podcast Discord. You'll also get access to the BDP Dropbox with over 100 private videos that have never been played on the public platforms, as well as extended tarot readings, merch, and so much more. You can join us on Patreon, YouTube channel memberships, or Facebook fan subscriptions. Don't forget to, you can also book a personal tarot reading. They're $50 a piece. You can do that or get your links by texting link or tarot to 513-393-2396, 513-393-2396, or email therealbestdampodcast@gmail.com. Today is the last day for the fundraiser that I got going. The link is in the description for that. It's a fundraiser over on PayPal. So, anybody who wants to contribute before the fundraiser shuts down, it's, to help us get new equipment, to help us, get moved to a better location, and, a lot of big things could come out of the fundraiser, so consider donating, supporting to me, guys. I really would appreciate it. So let's go ahead and jump into this. I do appreciate everybody for joining me. Make sure to hit that thumbs up in the chat. I don't know if the, notifications went out on the main channel. I did see, however, that the backup channels, it looks like I got notifications to the backup. So hopefully we'll see how many people come piling in tonight. Tonight we've got a pretty damn good one, if I don't say so myself. We will be talking about the hidden hand. I've got a really, really cool interview. The hidden hand interview we're going to look into, but we're also going to be looking into prophecy. This is going to piggyback off of some of the things that we talked about last night. I've got a couple major kind of news announcements first to just kind of show you. That way you can feast your eyes on some of the things that are taking place across the globe. We won't spend too much time on that, but it's going to kind of just set the stage for you to see just how close prophetically we are to a lot of the things that we're going to be discussing tonight. And man, let me tell you this too. Very, very weird, very strange, but after last night's show, I got some really nasty comments, not just in the comment section, but emails and text messages, some really, really nasty comments, so let me just go ahead and, give a nice little PSA to the haters out there. If you don't appreciate the work and you don't like what we do here on the channel, nobody is forcing you to watch. I don't know why people feel the need to tell me how much I suck, or to tell me, how much they would rather spend money on a dog than give it to me. It's hilarious, but dude, you're spending more energy and effort hating on somebody, than you are just ignoring them if you don't like them. It makes no sense why people do that, but nonetheless, it is what it is. I love all you guys anyways, even the ones who hate me. So I'm still down for y'all. I still got your back no matter what. So yeah. Everybody make sure to hit that thumbs up. I can't really tell who's in the chat tonight. Looks like we have Matt Kozniak over on Facebook Live, Stool Perger, Donna Marie Farrell, Back Assward's Weird World, Future Fields Forever, some of the oldies but goodies, some of the regulars in the house tonight. I do appreciate all of you guys. Let's start off here, man. And this is going to lead us into some of the prophetical things that we're going to be talking about, as well as the hidden hand. We're going to look into Freemasonry, Knights Templar, Illuminati, and we're going to, of course, always take it back to, ancient texts and religions and kind of see how all that fits in and, how this, really relates to the mystery. So it should be a really exciting, really informational episode tonight. So everybody, make sure to share this link, get it out there. We're really shadow banned and censored, especially when we do shows like this. So make sure other people get a chance to see this information. Do your part simply by just sharing it on the social media that you're already on, or, whatever platform you watch the content through, share it right from there. I always make sure to post all the links on all the social media platforms. And like I said, if you're in the chat, hit that thumbs up. Make sure to, chat and comment and engage. That helps with the algorithms. And make sure you're subbed up and you follow and subscribe. And consider donating and supporting, man. Without you guys, it's just not possible. So here we go. Huge solar eruptions will likely cause problems on Earth, says NASA. The sun has been very active lately, which could cause a few problems for us here on Earth. According to NASA, the space agency said that the solar cycle is not yet at its peak and has already surpassed expectations. Scientists with NASA believe that they will see more solar activity such as flares and eruptions that could disrupt navigational equipment like GPS, power grids, and radio communication. Solar flares and eruptions will increase from now until 2025, according to NASA predictions. The increased activity could create a risk for astronauts and spacecraft, as well as potentially create concerns about the health of flight crews and passengers on airplanes. And not just the health of flight crews and passengers on airplanes. We know that there is a direct connection or a direct correlation to plane crashes and CMEs and high solar activity. And this is because the electromagnetic energy has, a direct influence on the electrical equipment that's used to steer and guide these airplanes. That's why you'll see a lot of times when we have extremely high geomagnetic storms going on and things like that, not just bad weather, but geomagnetic storms as well, a lot of planes will, be grounded, and a lot of flights will end up being canceled. So, we've got the solar flares and radio blackouts that are allegedly, a strong possibility coming up. And we know that anytime we have, blackout conditions and all of this could really be a perfect time for different events to take place, flag events to take place, crisis events to take place. So, solar flares are large eruptions of electromagnetic radiation from the sun lasting from minutes to hours. A sudden outburst of electromagnetic energy travels at the speed of light. Therefore, any effect upon the sunlit side of the Earth exposed outer atmosphere occurs at the same time the event is observed. The increased level of X-ray and extreme ultraviolet or EUV radiation results in ionization in the lower layers of the ionosphere on the sunlit side of Earth. Under normal conditions, high-frequency radio waves are able to support communication over long distances by refraction via the upper layers of the ionosphere. When a strong enough solar flare occurs, ionization is produced in the lower, more dense layers of the ionosphere, or the D layer, and radio waves that interact with electrons in layers lose energy due to more frequent collisions that occur in the higher density environment of the D layer. This can cause HF radio signals to become degraded and completely absorbed. This results in radio blackout. The absence of HF communication, primarily impacting the 3 to 30 megahertz band or the DRAP region, D region absorption prediction product, correlates flare intensity to D-layer absorption strength and spread. Solar flares usually take place in active regions, which are areas on the sun marked by the presence of strong magnetic fields, typically associated with sunspot groups. As these magnetic fields evolve, they can reach a point of instability and release energy in a variety of forms. These include electromagnetic radiation, which are observed as solar flares. And keep in mind, guys, we've had intensely high UV levels all summer long. They continue to intensify and grow at an exponential rate, and this is extremely dangerous just to be out in, the heat, especially when the UV is so high. We've talked about this in the past too, just the changing of the climate and how radiation that used to be way up in the upper atmosphere is now found on the ground level. Radiation has the ability to mutate DNA. That we see this every time that we come to an end of a cycle. Not only does this radiation from these plasmatic discharges from the sun and the cycles that the sun goes through create, flux in the magnetic field and these disturbances in the magnetic field, which, then generates crazy, weather all over the world and weather patterns all over the world, allowing all of that energy in through, cosmic rays and, radiation, resulting in massive amounts of seismic and volcanic activity, especially when we have particular celestial alignments. When certain planets are in line, it brings on the probability of volcanic and seismic activity to increase. So we have all of that going on as well. But this affects human consciousness. This affects human behavior. This affects how fast we age, how long we live, even how intelligent we are and how we develop. So, this is something to keep an eye out for, and just to really kind of see what's going on with this, because anytime all communication goes down, you never know what could kind of pop up and emerge, especially knowing that there is an agenda from that hidden hand to kind of call the masses and, in essence, roll out a different type of technology that is more of a focused, concentrated energy called millimeter wave, which wouldn't rely so heavily on radio frequency. And I do believe the millimeter wave technology's already been activated, and we're already seeing that and the effects and results in people that have participated, in 90% of all the countries across the world. They participated in that, whether they think they have or not. So, yeah, we have that. And we know that the geopolitical tensions are high, too, and that the sixth generation warfare, silent warfare, really hinges off of electromagnetic pulse. So, that's kind of something to look out for as well. And a lot of people have predicted, massive solar flare or solar flash events as part of a kind of cosmic ending, if you will, or an ending to a cycle. A lot of people believe that these kind of recurring micronovas or flash events are cyclical, and that these are responsible for a lot of the cataclysms that we've faced here on Earth, age after age. And I believe it goes hand in hand with Planet X or Nemesis system. I believe this goes hand in hand with, a lot of the things that the catastrophic cycles are kind of an amalgamation of a bunch of different events, and they all hinge off of each other. Solar activity, radiation, magnetic reversals, solar flashes, Planet X, asteroids, comets, meteors. All of it really hinges one off of the other because it's like this cyclical, thing that we have here on Earth that we go through routinely, really, So, looks like, we got a super chat from Veritas Legionis. Thank you so much for the super chat, Veritas. I appreciate all of you. Guys, make sure to hit that thumbs up in the chat too, man. Moving forward, and like I said, we're going to get into some cool prophecies. We're going to look at Zeta talk and all types of weird shit. It's going to be fun. All right, NASA. Huge asteroid as big as a building heading towards Earth on Wednesday, August the 3rd. The giant, and let me go ahead and make this bigger, that way I'm not sitting there squinting trying to read it, sound like I don't know how to read. A giant building-sized space rock dubbed Asteroid 2022 OK5 is heading for Earth and will come very close tomorrow, August 3rd, 2022. It's just 3.42 million kilometers, equivalent to 0.02 astronomical units away from Earth. It is close enough for astronomers to study the asteroid using radar. According to data from the Center for Near-Earth Object Studies at NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory, the flyby of the asteroid is estimated at a distance of 3.41 million kilometers with a speed of 18 kilometers per second. NASA's classified Asteroid 2022 OK5 as a PHA, or potentially hazardous asteroid, due to its predicted close passes, not just passes with the Earth, and this asteroid is approximately 250 feet long. That's reported by the Sky.org. NASA's Planetary Defense Coordination Office monitors the sky with telescopes to keep track of the prominent upcoming space rocks heading to Earth. And, this isn't the site, but here you can see kind of a rundown on Sky.org of the actual trajectory. This is the orbit of the Earth, and it's indicated in blue. Asteroid 2022 OK5 is in white, and the dotted line is the orbits of Mercury, Venus, and Mars. Okay, so in blue is the orbit of the Earth, in white is the trajectory of OK5, and you can see there's two little sweet spots where we do have a crossing. Okay, the asteroid 2022 OK5 was detected on July 30th, 2022, and the NEO belongs to the Apollo group. Imagine that. It makes an orbit around the sun in 454 days. At this time, the asteroid moves away from the sun at a maximum distance of 239 kilometers and approaches at a minimum distance of 107 million kilometers. The distance of the asteroid from Earth is currently 3.44 million kilometers, equivalent to 0.2 AU, and light takes 0 minutes and 11 seconds to travel from the asteroid 2022 OK5 and arrive to us. Wow. So literally it takes 11 seconds from the light coming off of the asteroid to actually refract back to the Earth for us to see it. So, there is an 11-second delay or drag on the way that this thing's moving. So, we could be seeing it, and that's moving pretty fucking quick, is what I'm saying. You see it kind of approaching in the sky, and it's actually 11 seconds closer because it's moving so fast than what the light that is being refracted off of it is emitting. So, it could be in your face before you know it if it actually was going to hit. Just kind of something to consider. Very, very, this is normal though, right? Even though it's cool, this is normal. We see a lot of NEOs, these days, and I believe it's all part of, the end of the cycle and where we're at now. And it's all pertaining to this, Planet 9, running out of places to hide. Says we have a pretty good idea of what lurks within our system. We know there isn't a Mars-sized planet orbiting between Jupiter and Saturn, nor a brown dwarf nemesis heading our way. Anything large and fairly close to the sun would be easily spotted, but we can't rule out a smaller, more distant world, such as a hypothetical Planet 9 4, planet 10 if you want to throw down over Pluto. The odds against such planets existing are fairly high, and recent studies find it's even less likely. Many astronomers have wondered about the existence of planets that might hide at the edge of our system, particularly when power of our telescopes were fairly limited, but at large sky surveys started to scan the heavens, they found nothing beyond asteroid-sized worlds. But the orbits of the worlds we did find seem to be clustered in a statistically odd way, as if they were being gravitationally perturbed by a larger object. If that were the case, this planet 9 would have a mass of about 5 Earths and an orbital distance of a few hundred to 1,000 astronomical units. In other words, just small enough and distant enough that it wouldn't be easily seen in sky surveys. Naturally, this motivated folks to search for the world, but it isn't easy. Planet 9 would be too distant to be seen by reflected light, so you'd have to look away for its faint infrared glow. And with a mass of only 5 Earths, it wouldn't give off much heat. Adding to this fact is that such a distant planet would orbit very slowly, such that within a single set of observations, you wouldn't even notice it move at all. This is where this new study comes in. To look at the distant planets, the team used 2 infrared sky surveys, one from the infrared astronomical satellite IRIS and one from the Akari space telescope. The 2 surveys were taken more than 20 years apart, giving any hypothetical planet plenty of time to move to a slightly different part of the sky. They assumed any distant planets would be fairly close to the equatorial plane. They combined through the data, taking note of potential planets. Surprisingly, they found more than 500 candidates. Based on the energy distribution on their spectrum, most of these candidates in orbital distances of less than 1,000 AU in masses less than Neptune, which is exactly the range expected for Planet 9. But you shouldn't get too excited. When the team looked at the infrared signatures by hand, they found none of them were that compelling. Most of them tended to either be within or near a faint integrated flux nebula, also known as galactic cirrus. They also diffuse clouds of interstellar gas that aren't easily seen at visible wavelengths, but rather emit infrared light. And that's the thing, with Nemesis or Nibiru, Planet 9. We've seen the studies or the documents from Mike Brown. I've shown those and the trans-Neptunian objects. We've really covered this ad nauseum. I mean, even the JPL NASA leaks, we've done shows on those years ago. And not to mention all of the historical or what we would call mythological and scriptural ancient text, type of data that refers to this Planet 9 or Nemesis or Nibiru or Dragon, this binary twin or proto-planet. There's a lot of information from the ancients that say there is something. And people have to understand that if this is like a black hole or it's got such a strong negative polarity that it doesn't allow light to escape, then I don't know exactly what type of light they're looking for to refract off of this fucking thing. You know what I mean? Like, what type of telescope's going to see it, even in infrared, if it has such a strong negative polarity and magnetic pull that no light escapes from it, right? And if it's not even close to an object to, or way beneath the ecliptic coming from underneath us, most of our telescopes don't even point that direction. So, for them to rule it out, I just think is nonsense, especially seeing that when we look at the effects, and I can point this out real quick. Here, let me actually pull this up real fast for you guys and show you, there is something, for a fact that is changing the Earth's magnetic field. And no matter, how you want to look at it or what you think, perhaps is doing this, I believe that, it's got to be another celestial object. Now, whether this is a comet or, a large asteroid or whatever, right? Something has a negative polarity that is pushing the magnetic north and magnetic south towards one another, towards Siberia, and that's what's changed our magnetic poles. It's caused the north and the south magnetic pole to split into two, and has taken us so close to that really fragile 40-degree point. And seeing these are the flood maps of what the world would look like after magnetic reversal. I'm going to go through a couple of these maps and show you right there. Right, the magnetic poles split. Right, you have two north poles, two south poles, and they're rapidly accelerating toward the equator. And see on this heat map, the red indicates positive polarity, okay? And this blue is negative polarity. So you see it's like a round object with wings that's right here on the South Atlantic anomaly, kind of pushing these poles towards one another to the new magnetic North Pole, which would be right there, on Siberia. So, I mean, your guess is as good as mine. And right there's a really good picture. And that's from 2019. You can see just how negative the polarity is. It's black in this picture, right? As it's pushing the poles away from each other, splitting them in two on the north and the south, and pushing them towards, Siberia, which would be the location of the new magnetic north. And if we look at, I think it's Mabstar Reloaded, and I should pull up one of his newer videos just to see how close we are to that actual point, because I know the last time we were somewhere around like less than 100 miles, around like 50 miles from that 40-degree point where magnetics break down in reverse. So it went from like 18 months to like we're, anywhere from 6 months to a year away from magnetic reversal, according to the calculations of Mabstar Reloaded, who actually, has his viewers, through donations and contributions has helped him be able to calculate, the magnetic movement of the poles. He doesn't depend on NASA and mainstream science. He does it all himself, and he has a dedicated community, and they're really trying to find the science of the magnetic reversal themselves, and you got to give them props, man. First and foremost, most communities aren't that dedicated, and second, most creators aren't that dedicated, and third, it's nice to see that there are citizen scientists out there, if you will, that are giving us true and real information. That way we don't have to kind of wade through all the muck and bullshit of disinformation and propaganda that, NASA seems to feed to us on a daily basis. So let's go ahead and move forward. And we're going to look at quite a few different prophecies tonight. And quite a few different, ways of looking at the hidden hand and the Knights Templars. And we're going to start with that first. Let's start there first. Let's go to the Vatican. Print secrets of the Knights Templar. Okay, so we're going to take a couple looks and get a little bit of information first on the Templars and all of that before, and I'm not going to make it too long before we get into the juicy stuff, to give you a little bit of background information, and then we're going to dive into this hidden hand interview, which is fucking fascinating, and then we're going to look at a lot of the different, philosophical points of looking at this, as well as historical ways and, different spiritual schools of thought to kind of go along with this. It's the push map. We are now on the 40-degree mark now, says Veritas. I believe you, bro. I know we got to be really close, and that's probably why we see such instability in the magnetic field right now, right? We know it's not the point where things flip over completely. When you hit that 40-degree point, it's where the magnetic field loses stability. So it starts to go from side to side, like, wobbling to and fro like a drunkard, like it says in the book of Isaiah in the Holy Bible, right? That's where we're at whenever we hit that 40-degree point. So yeah, it's weird outside today. Voice sounds like a room. What's that? I couldn't actually see your comment there. It is weird outside today. Voice sounds like a room or small contained area, which is not how outside noises usually sound. I'm not surprised. If you think about magnetic field and the way that sound travels, right? And we're kind of and just think about how things vibrate throughout the air, and if the air is highly charged with electrical currents, or if we have, low vibrations of humming and stuff from fluctuations of the magnetic field. I mean, we could see a lot of things change in the way that they sound or appear or whatever, right? I think that's the whole trumpet sounding in the Bible too, is that tug and pull on the magnetic field that creates a large, deep vibration, like, right? Like almost like a trumpet sound, when another celestial body is actually pushing or pulling against the magnetic field of the earth. That will create that trumpet sound, if you will. Or at least in my opinion, that's what I believe will happen. Everybody make sure to hit that thumbs up in the chat too for me. Thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up. For real. Keep it going. Here we go. Vatican prints Secrets of the Knights Templar. Let me see if I can make this so I can see the chat as I do this too. Shit. I like to see the chat when I can. Here we go. Let's see if we can keep the chat up while we're doing this here. That would be nice, would it not? That did not work, did it? Did not work. Alright, like this. There we go. Did I just do what I was trying to do, friends? I did, didn't I? How about that? Cool. Alright, so Vatican, and hello all. Yeah, hey guys. Based on current speed, it's due March 2023. I would not be surprised if it came even sooner than that. You got to think the magnetic field, as it moves closer towards its new destination of Siberia, it's just like time, if you will. Like we talk about how that 1 degree drag in the precession of the equinoxes, right? And like Mandela effect and light and sound and all of that, and getting from point A to point B. And as you get closer to the end point, things tend to accelerate as you get closer to something. So, I wouldn't be surprised. And we know that as the magnetic field has migrated towards Siberia, it's doubled and tripled in speed, on the regular. So I wouldn't be surprised if it has a projected date of March 2023 to increase, and happen even before then, maybe January 2023. Who fucking knows, right? We just know that it does tend to pick up speed as it continues to move in that direction. Alright, Vatican prints Secrets of Knights Templar. So the Knights Templar, the medieval Christian military order accused of heresy and sexual misconduct, will soon be partly rehabilitated when the Vatican publishes trial documents it had closely guarded for 700 years. A reproduction of the minutes of trials against the Templars, Processus Contras Templaros, papal inquiry into the trial of the Templars, is a massive work and much more than a book. It's a milestone because it's the first time these documents are being released by the Vatican, which gives a stamp of authority to the entire project. Nothing before this offered scholars original documents of the trials of the Templars. 799 numbered copies of work have been made. I would love to pull this up. If anybody can drop a PDF link to Processus Contra Templarios, Papal Inquiry. I would love to get the PDF for that. On parchment, measuring about half a meter wide by some 2 meters long, it's so detailed that it includes reproductions of stains and imperfections seen on originals. Pope Benedict was given the first set of the work, published by the Vatican Secret Archives in collaboration with Italy's Scrinium Cultural Foundation, which acted as a curator and will have exclusive world distribution rights. The Templars, whose full name was Poor Fellow Soldiers of Christ and of the Temple of Solomon, were founded in 1119 by knights sworn to protecting Christian pilgrims visiting the Holy Land after the Crusaders captured Jerusalem in 1099. They amassed enormous wealth and helped finance wars of some European monarchs. Legends of their hidden treasures, secret rituals, and powers figured over the years in films and bestsellers such as Da Vinci Code. The knights have also been portrayed as guardians of the legendary Holy Grail, the cup used by Christ at the Last Supper before his crucifixion. The Vatican expects most copies of the work to be bought up by specialized libraries at the top universities and by leading medieval scholars. The Templars went into decline after the Muslims reconquered the Holy Land at the end of the 13th century and were accused of heresy by Philip IV of France, Philip the Fair, their foremost persecutor. Their alleged offenses included denying Christ and secretly worshiping idols. The most titillating part of the documents of the so-called Chinan parchment, which contains phases in which Pope Clement V also absolved the Templars of charges of heresy, which had been the backbone of King Philip's attempts to eliminate them. The Templars were burned at the stake for heresy by King Philip's agents after they made confessions that most historians believe were given under duress. And we all know the story of, being burned at the stake. The parchment, also known as the Chiman chart of parchment, was misplaced in the Vatican archives till 2001 when Frail stumbled across it. The parchment was cataloged incorrectly at some point in history. At first, I couldn't believe my eyes. I was incredulous, she said. This was a document that a lot of historians were looking for. A 37-year-old scholar said Philip was heavily indebted to the Templars, who had helped him finance wars. Getting rid of them was a convenient way of canceling debts. Some historians say Frail said Pope Clement was convinced that while the Templars had committed some grave sins, they were not heretics. Their initiation ceremony is believed to have included spitting on the cross, but Frail said they justified this as a ritual of obedience in preparation for possible capture by Muslims. They were also said to have practiced sodomy. Simply put, the Pope recognized that they were not heretics but guilty of many other minor crimes, such as abuses, violence, simple acts within the order, but that is not the same as heresy. And think about that, the sodomy, the sacral sanctum, and the vagus nerve. We've talked about this, and, Kundalini activation or DNA activation and different forms of initiation, right, is to be sodomized, right, to trigger that vagus nerve, okay, to trigger a Kundalini awakening. And that's why you see, and there is a spiritual connotation to this, and that's why you see a lot of, let's just put it this way, religious leaders who practice certain sexual acts and practice them on people they shouldn't be, especially people that are too young, as well as people of the same sex, right? There's usually, and you even see Roman and Greek soldiers were, in essence, it was kind of promoted for them to, sleep with each other. Like, it promoted camaraderie and kinship and made them closer to each other, right? So I think this was all part of, kind of like the ritual. I don't think, today, if you look at, police and military and all that, these are fraternal orders. No, they don't make them sodomize each other today. But back then, those were also, kind of the first versions of fraternal orders of the Babylonian system, and I would imagine that was probably all part of wearing that badge, right? that 6-pointed star, that 5-pointed star, having that, being part of that brotherhood that they belong to, and being, the militant side underneath the Pope, right? The order of the Pope. So, that's very interesting. If we take it to the top here with the Templars. The poor fellow soldiers of Christ of the Temple of Solomon, Latin, Pauperis, Commilitones Christi, Templique Solomoncio, commonly known as Knights Templar, Order of the Temple, French Ordre du Temple of Templiers, or simply as Templars, were among the most famous of Western Christian military orders. The organization existed for approximately 2 centuries in the Middle Ages, officially endorsed by the Roman Catholic Church around 1129. The order became a favored charity throughout Christendom and grew rapidly in membership and power. Templar Knights, in their distinctive white mantles and red cross, were among the most skilled fighting units of the Crusades. Non-combatant members of the order managed a large economic infrastructure throughout Christendom, innovating financial techniques that were an early form of banking and building many fortifications across Europe and the Holy Land. What is it? The East India Company, right? This was all part of this too, and you get pirates, and it's not just pirates of the oceans and the seas, but pirates of the waters of the spirit as well. The Templars' existence was tied closely to the Crusades. When the Holy Land was lost, support for the order faded. Rumors about the Templars' secret initiation ceremony created mistrust, and they were deeply in debt. And as a matter of fact, let's see if we can actually take a look here before we jump over to something else. And we're going to look at a couple different orders here. Wonder why they're releasing them now. Well, I mean, everything now is coming to light. It's all too late. It's like time now for them to let you know, like, what all they've done. Right? Let's see if we can do the East India Company. See what comes up under that. Don't see too much popping up here on East India, but I do have some other stuff here. Let's see if we can pull something else. I got other things too. So East India Company. Let's pull it up on Wiki and see what they got. And this is definitely connected here. The Siege of Calais marked the conclusion of the campaign during the Edwardian phase of the 100 Years' War. The French army led a defeat by King Philip VI at the Battle of Crécy. A week later, they invested in the well-fortified command of Calais, which had a strong garrison under the command of Jean de Vienne. Edward made several unsuccessful attempts to breach the walls and take the town by assault during the winter. Spring, the French were able to run into the supplies or reinforcements by sea, but late in the April, English established a fortification which enabled them to command the embrace of the harbor and cut off the further flow of supplies, and capitulated. You see, a lot of this, the Eastern India Company was supposed to be kind of like the a version of those who funded Knights Templars or spin off from Knights Templars, and they did it by water. Did a lot within human trafficking and different forms of trade and slavery and all of that, right? So moving forward, let's look here. We're going to jump now to Freemasonry, and then we're going to get into the good stuff here. I wonder what percentage of water animals are. That's a really good question, bro. I have never actually looked into that one myself to see, what the answer to that would even be. But I do know that, if humans, we were made up of water quite a bit. So that makes you wonder, what percentage of, animals are made up of water. The Freemasons, you guys see here, this is the big one now. And I wonder if they'll put a nice little wiki label under this video for me talking about them. The Freemasons, or Freemasonry or Masonry, refers to the fraternal organizations that trace their origins to the local guilds of stonemasons that from the end of the 13th century regulated, and notice this is the 13th century again, right around the time the Templars, ended. Regulated the qualifications of stonemasons and their interaction with authorities and clients. Freemasonry has been the subject of numerous conspiracy theories throughout the years. Modern Freemasonry broadly consists of two main recognition groups. Regular Freemasonry insists that a volume of scripture be open in a working lodge, that every member profess belief in a supreme being, that no women be admitted, and that the discussion of religion and politics be banned. Continental Freemasonry consists of the jurisdictions that have removed some or all of these restrictions. These basic local organizational unit of Freemasonry is a lodge. These private lodges are usually supervised at the regional level, usually coterminous with the state, province, or national border by a Grand Lodge or Grand Orient. There is no international worldwide Grand Lodge that supervises all of Freemasonry. Each Grand Lodge is independent, and they do not necessarily recognize each other as being legitimate. The degrees of Freemasonry retain the three grades of medieval craft guilds. Those of entered apprentice, journeyman, or fellow, now called fellow craft, and master mason. The candidate of these degrees is progressively taught the meanings of the symbols of Freemasonry and entrusted with grips, signs, and words to signify to other members that he has been so initiated. The degrees are part allegorical morality play and part lecture. 3 degrees are often by craft or Blue Lodge Freemasonry, and members of any of these degrees are known as Freemasons or Masons. There are additional degrees, which vary with locality and jurisdiction and are usually administered by their own body, separate from those who administer the craft degrees. Freemasonry is a worldwide fraternal organization. Its members are joined together by shared ideals of both the moral and metaphysical nature, and in most of its branches by a common belief in supreme being. Freemasonry is an esoteric art, and certain aspects of its internal work are not generally revealed due to the public. Masons give numerous reasons for this, one of which is that Freemasonry uses an initiatory system of degrees to explore ethical and philosophical issues. And this system is less effective if the observer knows beforehand what will happen. It often calls itself a peculiar system of morality veiled in allegory and illustrated by symbols behind the veil of secrecy. Freemasonry, known popularly for its white aprons and arcane symbols, and the world's oldest fraternal organization despite its longevity, Freemasonry have been shrouded in mystery to outside observers. The organization's rites and practices may seem cult-like, clannish, and secretive, even sinister. Some of this stems from Freemasons' often deliberate reluctance to speak about the organization's rituals to outsiders, but it is also partly the result of many popular movies and books such as Dan Brown's The Da Vinci Code, Doubleday, 2003. They have fostered misconceptions or depicted the order in an unflattering light. In reality, however, Freemasonry is a worldwide organization with a long and complex history. Its members have included politicians, engineers, scientists, writers, inventors, and philosophers. Many of these members have played prominent roles in world events such as revolutions, wars, and intellectual movements. In addition to being the world's oldest fraternal organization, Freemasonry is also the world's such organization, boasting an estimated worldwide member of some 6 million people. According to a report by the BBC, as the name implies, a fraternal organization is one that's composed almost solely of men who gather together for mutual benefit, frequently for professional or business reasons. However, nowadays women can be Freemasons too. More on this later. But Freemasons or Masons, as they are sometimes called, are dedicated to loftier goals as well. Bound together by secret rites of initiation and ritual, its members ostensibly promote the brotherhood of man, and in the past have often been associated with 18th century Enlightenment principles such as anti-monarchism, republicanism, mediocrity, and constitutional government, said Margaret Jacob, Professor Emeritus of European History at the University of California, LA, and author of the book The Origins of Freemasonry, Fact and Fictions, University of Pennsylvania Press, 2005. This is not to say that Freemasonry is wholly secular and devoid of religious aspects. Its members are encouraged to believe in Supreme Being, which in parlance of Masonry is known as the Grand Architect of the Universe, Jacob added. The Grand Architect, Jacob further explained, is akin to a deistic creator rather than a personal God as envisioned by Christianity. The concept of deism, which has its origins in the 17th century Enlightenment, promotes the idea that the Supreme Being is like the ultimate watchmaker, a deity that created the universe but does not play an active role in the lives of its creations. A code of ethics also guides the behavior of members. The code is derived from several documents, the most famous of which is a series of documents known as the Old Charges or Constitutions. One of these documents, known as the Regis Poem or Howell manuscript, is dated sometime around the later 14th or 15th century, reported the oldest document to mention Masonry, according to Pierre Stone's Review of Masonry, an online magazine written by the Masons. Howell manuscript is written in verse. In addition, purportedly tracing the history of Masonry, it also prescribes correct moral behavior for Masons. For example, it urges members to be steadfast, trusty, and true, and not to take bribes or harbor thieves. While many Freemasons are Christians, Freemasonry and Christianity have had a complex, often divisive relationship. Some Orthodox Christians have taken issue with Freemasonry's deism and its frequently perceived as paganism and the occult, but the Catholic Church has been among its harshest critics. In 1738, a papal decree prohibited Catholics from becoming Freemasons, and Jacob wrote, "Even today, the papal ban on Freemasonry remains in place, with the Church declaring Freemasonry irreconcilable with the doctrine of the Church, according to the Vatican." And we've had, something of Malta, the Knights of Malta. A lot of those people or brotherhoods, members of those brotherhoods, belong as members of the Vatican. So, I believe that there's, the Knights of Malta. So there's still different fraternal orders that are accepted within the Catholic Church, and these are all different branches, essentially, of the Templars, Bavarian Illuminati, Bohemian Illuminati. A lot of these things all kind of branch to, Ishmaelism and the Mad Arab. If you look into the story of, we want to go back to H.P. Lovecraft and the Cthulhu's mythos, right? And the story of the Mad Arab, or the Necronomicon, the story of the Mad Arab. You can find a lot of this information there. I've actually done plenty of videos pertaining to this stuff. And throughout the night, we're going to actually look up a couple of these documents and constitutions and look over them as we move a little bit further into this. Matter of fact, let's do this now. Let's pull this up now. Let's go ahead and look into and see, and it goes back to the Ark of the Covenant. This is the Knights Templars and their origins with the Ark of the Covenant. The Ark of the Covenant is another enigmatic holy relic that disappeared in the realms of time. There are legends about the existence and purpose of the Ark, leading one to believe that there was more than one Ark, or it came and went in different points of history. It appears to be some sort of device and or radioactive weapon that helped a specific bloodline in their eternal quest for freedom. As humanity's story and destiny is linked to extraterrestrial origins and artifacts, the Ark will become part of a different storyline in the simulation of reality. Never worship inanimate objects or mythological gods. The Ark of the Covenant is described in the Bible as a sacred container wherein rested the tablets of stone containing 10 commandments as well as Aaron's rod and manna. According to the biblical account, the Ark was built at the command of God in accord with Moses' prophetic vision on Mount Sinai. God communicated with Moses from between the two cherubim in the Ark's cover. The Ark and its sanctuary were the beauty of Israel. And Rashi and some Midrashim suggest that there were two arks, a temporary one made by Moses and a later one made by Bezalel. You can see the depiction here. Jewish texts recount that during biblical times, Yom Kippur was the only day on which the highest priest could enter the inner sanctum of the Holy Temple in Jerusalem. There he would perform a series of rituals and sprinkle blood from sacrificed animals on the Ark of the Covenant, which allegedly contained the 10 Commandments. The biblical account relates that during the exodus of the Israelites, the Ark was carried by the priest 2,000 cubits in advance of the people and their army and or host. When the Ark was borne by priests in the bed of Jordan, the river was separated, opening a pathway for the whole of the host to pass over. The Ark was borne in a 7-day procession around the wall of Jericho by 7 priests, sounding 7 trumpets of ram's horns. And the city shaken with the shout. When carried, the Ark was always wrapped in a veil. In Lakash skins, the identity of this animal is uncertain, and a blue cloth was carefully concealed, even from the eyes of the Levites who carried it. See the little descriptions here. It may look similar to the chest found in the tomb of King Tut, Tutankhamun, right? Which Tutankhamun is said to be, many believe the son of Akhenaten. And we see, once again, it's got the jackal on top of it, which relates to Anubis and, the act of embalming and mummification, which we know if you watch my last private video, or not the last one, but the one before last, embalmed alive, you would know that there is a massive ritual pertaining to the embalming and mummification that relates directly to what's going on with people today in society in a occult ritual that pertains to graphene. So, just saying. We can call it the mark of the beast. You can call it what you want. In 1922, the Egyptian Valley of the Kings and the tomb of Tutankhamun was opened by Howard Center in Lord Carnarvon. Among the artifacts was a processional ark listed as Shrine 261, the Anubis Shrine. Almost immediately after publication of the photographs, a sensational archaeological find, some claim the Anubis Shrine could be the Ark of the Covenant. John Lundquist, author of the Temple of Jerusalem, Past, Present, and Future, discounts the idea. The Anubis Shrine measures 95 centimeters long, 37 centimeters wide, and 54.3 centimeters high, in shape of a pylon. The biblical Ark of the Covenant is approximately 133 centimeters, or 52 inches long, 80 centimeters wide, and 80 centimeters high, in the shape of a rectangular chest. He points out that Shrine 261 is not strictly analogous to the Ark of the Covenant. It can only be said that Anubis' shrine is ark-like, constructed of wood, gilded and gessoed, stored within a sacred tomb, guarding the treasury of the tomb and not the primary focus of the environment, that it contains compartments within it that store and hold sacred objects, that it has a figure of Anubis on its lid, and that it was carried by two staves permanently inserted into rings at its base and borne by 8 priests in the funerary procession of Tutankhamun's tomb. Its value in the insight provides the ancient culture of Egypt. The Bible describes the ark as made of a shittah tree, wood, or acacia, known as to the Egyptians as a tree of life, an important plant in traditional medicine containing many cases of psychoactive alkaloids. It was 1.5 cubits broad and high and 2.5 cubits long, conforming to the golden ratio. The ark was covered all over with the purest gold. Its upper surface or lid, the mercy seat, was surrounded with a rim of gold. On each of the 2 long sides were 2 gold rings, wherein one was placed with 2 wooden poles, with a decorative sheathing of gold to allow the ark to be carried. Over the ark at 2 extremities were 2 cherubim with their faces turned toward one another, and their outspread wings over the top of the ark formed the throne of God, while the ark itself was a footstool. The ark was placed in the Holy of Holies, so that one end of the carrying poles touched the veil separating the 2 compartments of the tabernacle. The book of Deuteronomy describes the ark as a simple wooden container with no mention of ornaments or gold. Similarly, the Quran makes a reference to the ark as a wooden box with holy relics inside. And we know, the covenant of the God is symbolized by the rainbow. The 7 colors of the rainbow pertain to the 7 rays, and these 7 rays are also the 7 chakras, or the 7 primary planets within the construct of Saturn. And these are the governors or the rulers of the reality, right? And that arc or arch refers to a firmament. Right, when we look at the etymology of the word, an arc is a firmament, or an arch is a firmament, an archway is a firmament, something of protection, and an arc is also, relative to a electrical arc, and we know that God's name being El derives from the word electric, right, like electricity, and even when we look at the waters separating the firmament, above and below, currents of water, right? Electrical currents. So a lot of these things go hand in hand, even archangels or archangles, referring to the cube or the box, right? Which we know within those 7 rays, within that arc, is ruled by Saturn or Hasatan, Satan, the black cube or cube god or cube Allah, cube father. Okay, so there's a lot of different connections when you look at it that way. It's just kind of every time that we look into these things, we find more and more connections, to the religions basically based on celestial bodies and sacred geometry, as well as numerology. And the etymology of the words kind of takes you back to the same things over and over and over again, showing you that this is a repetitive cycle that we live within, and these mysteries that are buried so deep within everything, right? They're kind of the keys to freedom and enlightenment, and that's why I believe they are written on, cave walls and written on pyramid walls, and in the form of hieroglyphs. And we've developed phonetic and all of these different ways to explain these symbols, so we don't forget. These are the keys to death and Hades, or the keys to death and the abyss. And it's even said in Thoth the Atlantean Priest King in the Emerald Tablets, right, that under the halls of Amenti, that's where these keys are found, that allow people to essentially escape this place, right, and find the true mysteries of man. So, just kind of something to think about here. In the book of the prophets, They only mention the ark in the book of the prophets in reference by Jeremiah, who's speaking in the days of Josiah, prophesies a time when the ark will no longer be needed because of the righteousness of the people. In Psalms, the ark is twice referred to. If it's captured by the Philistines, it's spoken of, and the ark is called the strength and glory of God. It is spoken of as the ark of the strength of the Lord. The ark is mentioned in only a passage of Deuteronomical and Maccabees, which contains a reference to a document saying that the prophet Jeremiah, being warned of God, took the ark and the tabernacle and the altar of incense and buried them in a cave on Mount Nebo, informing those and his followers who wished to find the place that it should remain unknown until the time that God should gather his people again together and receive unto them mercy. And here's another mount, right? Every time we look at creation stories or communication with God or the gods, Mount Olympus, Mount Hermon, Mount Sinai, Mount Nebo, right? It's always on top of a mountain somewhere, right? And it always seems to be dealing with smokeless flames, burning bush, and rainbows, and covenants, and Elohim, and, reptile beings, serpent beings. So, it's always passed down to people that are kings or priests or some form of hierarchy, within our world too. And this, kind of goes back to the whole Anunnaki and, how everything with them kind of relates to, to bloodlines, basically. So, we're going to look here at the Holy Grail. The Holy Grail in Christian mythology. This grail was a dish or plate or cup or vessel that caught Jesus' blood during his crucifixion. It was said to have the power to heal all wounds. A theme joined to the Christianized Arthurian mythos that relates to the quest for the Holy Grail. The legend may be a combination of genuine Christian lore with Celtic myth of cauldron endowed with special powers. Whether Grail is Celtic or Old French, it never refers to any cup or bowl but this. Though some Christian revisionists insist that the Holy Grail is not to be confused with the Holy Chalice, the vessel which Jesus used at the Last Supper to serve the wine, this has been a historical practice. Various vessels have been put forward in the Last Supper chalice. According to the Catholic Encyclopedia, it was only after the cycle of Grail romances was well established, identifying the cup of the Last Supper with the Grail, the late medieval writers came up with a false etymology from the fact that in Old French, Saint Grail means Holy Grail, and sangreal means royal blood. Since then, sangreal is sometimes employed to lend a medievalizing air in referring to the Holy Grail. This connection with royal blood bore fruit in modern bestseller, linking many historical conspiracies. The development of the Grail legend has been traced in detail by cultural historians. It's a Gothic legend which first came together in the form of written romances, deriving perhaps from some pre-Christian folkloric hints in the later 12th and early 13th centuries. Once again, 13th century, the early Grail romances centered on Percival and were then woven into the more general Arthurian fabric. The Grail romances were French, though they were translated into other European vernaculars, and essential elements were added to them. And it's got a distribution of the Grail ideas. I actually want to go, where is it at? Right here, Gods and Bloodlines. Since the Grail is considered to be connected, with these bloodlines and with the gods, and we know that everything pertaining to these secret societies, everything pertaining to these ancient gods and deities always revolves around DNA and bloodlines. Why not, right? Gods and bloodlines. And then we're going to jump to the best stuff, okay? I promise. I just got to give some background info first. I'm late, but you made a live show. That's what's up. Make sure to hit the thumbs up. Okay, gods and bloodlines. There are images of gods carrying buckets in bas-relief and art forms found in different ancient civilizations linked with their creation myths. The water buckets can reference blood and bloodlines, or a vessel meaning the female uterus which carries a new creation. Sumer, Mesopotamia, the cradle of civilization, Sumerian mythology, Anunnaki. Ea stands in his watery home, the Apsu. You can see the depiction right here, guys. This is from the Sumerians. Enki walks out of the water of the land. Enki seeding the tree of life or the flower of life. And notice he's got the bird head once again, right? And he's got like the 6 wings and all of that. And you see one of his arms is a serpent arm with the pine cone or the pineal right there. And he's holding that weight or that that magnet essentially upside down, or you could even look at it as a bucket of water, just like in the age of Aquarius, right? Him holding the bucket in his hand. There's many different ways you can kind of look at that. But that bird head, like a falcon, a griffin, an eagle, these, and this relates to Ptah, this relates to Thoth, and it even relates to Jupiter, which means Job given, like deriving from Jehovah, Job given, right? All of these gods, the same gods, essentially, when we look at it. And Jupiter, who has the 3-headed eagle as a pet. And the birds, they say, are related to the dinosaurs. Imagine that. So, reptilians, in fact, could have been, dinosaurs, birds. A lot of people believe that, that's actually true, that dinosaurs weren't what we thought they were, that they were actually, bird beings, and that's where people get the ideas of velociraptors and all of that kind of shit. So, just kind of throwing it out there for those that are interested. Okay, moving forward. And I love the depictions of him with the bird head, by the way. Creation of bloodlines, humans, and alchemy. And there you can see the more kind of common depiction, right, with the beard, as well as the bird head, male-female separation, twin soul aspects, above and below, duality, right here. Amphibious gods create a human bloodline. And remember, Pope, papal hats, they have the fish hat. And speaking of, the Pope, we're going to pull up a couple things real quick to show you some of these documents that we were just talking about, too. Such as the Jesuit oath. Those of you guys who are not familiar with that. Let's pull that up. Let's pull up the Jesuit oath for everybody at home. And let's make sure we got the right one here. Make sure we got the right one here. No, this is the one I'm looking for here. This is not the one I'm looking for. The Extreme Jesuit Oath. There we go. The Extreme Jesuit Oath. This is the one that we want here. This will give you a good idea right there of oath of induction right here. Okay, and this is not exactly, okay. See if we can find right here. Jesuit oath of induction. No one still doubts the words of James Patrons quoted in Mary Frances Cusack, the Black Pope. If you trace up Masonry through all of its orders, you will come to the grand tip-top head Mason of the world. You'll discover that the dread individual and the chief of society of Jesus are one and the same person. Heckathorn as quoted in Lady Queensborough, Edith Starr Miller, Occult Theocracy. There is considerable analogy between Masonic and Jesuit degrees, and the Jesuits also bred down the shoe and bare the knee because Ignatius Loyola thus presented himself at Rome and asked for the confirmation of the order. John Daniel, The Grand Design Exposed. The truth, the Jesuits of Rome have perfected Freemasonry to be their most magnificent and effective tool accomplishing their purposes among Protestants. Madame Helena Petrova Blavatsky, Isis Unveiled. It is curious to note, too, that most of the bodies which work these, such as the ancient and accepted Scottish Rite, the Rite of Avignon, the Order of the Temple, Prince Masons, etc., etc., are nearly all line offspring of the sons of Ignatius Loyola. Secret societies such as Freemasons, Illuminati, and those of religious orders infiltrate the economies of the world and prepare the great religious movements for unification with acceptance of the Bishop of Rome as the supreme religious ruler of the 20th century. The following is the Jesuit extreme oath of induction given to high-ranking Jesuits only. This oath can be taken to the Book of Subterranean Rome by Carlos Diddler, translated from the French and published in New York in 1843. When a Jesuit in the minor rank is to be elevated in command, he is conducted into the chapel of the covenant of the order, where there are only 3 others present. The principal or superior standing in front of the altar. On either side stands a monk, one of whom a banner of yellow and white, which are the papal colors, and the other a black banner with a dagger and a red cross above a skull and crossbones, which the world NRIE, below them, words Isitum, Mikar, Regis, and Pius, the meaning of which is just to exterminate and annihilate impetus and heretical kings, governments, or rulers. Upon the floor is a red cross at which the postulant and candidate kneels. The superior hands him a small black crucifix, which he takes in his left hand and presses to his heart. And the superior at the same time presents to him a dagger, which he grasps by the blade and holds the point against his heart. The superior still holding it by the hilt, and thus addresses the postulant. Superior: My son, heretofore you have been taught to act as a disassembler among Roman Catholics, to be a Roman Catholic, and to be a spy even among your own brethren, and to believe no man, to trust no man. Among the Reformers, to be a Reformer. Among the Huguenots, to be a Huguenot. Among the Calvinists, to be a Calvinist. Among the Protestants, generally, to be a Protestant. In obtaining their confidence, to seek even to preach from their pulpits, and to denounce with all vehemence in your nature our holy religion and the Pope, and even to descend so low as to become a Jew among Jews, that you might be enabled to gather together all information for the benefit of your order as a faithful soldier of the Pope. You have been taught to insidiously plant the seeds of jealousy and hatred between communities and provinces, states that were at peace, and incite them to deeds of blood, involving them with war with each other, and to create revolutions and civil wars in countries that were independent and prosperous, cultivating the arts and the sciences and enjoying the blessings of peace, to take sides with the combatants who act secretly with your brother Jesuit, who might be engaged on the other side, but openly opposed to that with which you might be connected, only that the church might be the gainer in the end, and the conditions fixed in the treaties for peace, and for that end justifies the means. You have been taught your duty as a spy to gather all statistics, facts, and informations in your power from every source, to ingratiate yourself into the confidence of the family circle of Protestants and heretics of every class and character, as well as that of the merchant, the banker, the lawyer, among the schools and universities, and parliaments and legislatures, and judiciaries and councils of state, and to be all things to all men, for the Pope's sake, whose servants we are unto death. You have received at your instructions heretofore as a novice, a neophyte, and have served as a coadjutor, confessor, and priest, but you have not yet been invested with all that is necessary to command in the army of Loyola in the service of the Pope. You must serve the proper time as the instrument and executioner, and directed by your superiors, for none can command here who have not consecrated his labors with the blood of his heretics. For without the shedding of blood no man can be saved. Therefore, to fit yourself for your work and make your own salvation sure, you will, in addition to your former oath of obedience, in your order and allegiance to the Pope, repeat after me. And here is the extreme oath of the Jesuits. And you can insert your name here if you want. I blank, now in the presence of Almighty God, the blessed Virgin Mary, the blessed Michael the Archangel, the blessed St. John the Baptist, the holy apostles St. Peter and St. Paul, and all the saints and sacred host of heaven, and to you, my ghostly father, superior general of the Society of Jesus, founded by St. Ignatius Loyola in the pontificate of Paul III, and continued to the present, to do that by the womb of the Virgin, the matrix of God, and the rod of Jesus, declare and swear that this holiness, the Pope, and Christ Vice-Regent, and true and only head of the Catholic or universal church throughout the earth, and that by the value of the keys of binding and loosing given to his holiness, my Savior, Jesus Christ, he hath power to depose heretical kings, princes, states, commonwealth, and governments, all being illegal without its sacred confirmation, that they may safely be destroyed. Therefore, to the utmost of my power, I shall and will defend this doctrine of his holiness's right and custom against all usurpers in the heretical and Protestant authority whatever, especially the Lutheran of Germany, Holland, Denmark, Sweden, Norway, and now the pretended authority of the churches of England and Scotland, and branches of the same now established in Ireland, on the continent of America, and elsewhere, in all adherence and regard that they may be usurped and heretical, opposing the Sacred Mother Church of Rome. I do now renounce and disown any allegiance as due to a heretical king, prince, or state named Protestant of liberals, or disobedience to any of these laws, magistrates, or officers. I do further declare that the doctrine of the churches of England and Scotland, of the Calvinists, the Huguenots, and others of the name Protestants and liberals, to be damnable, and they themselves damned who will not forsake that name. I do further declare that I will help, assist, and advise all or any of His Holiness agents in place wherever I shall be, Switzerland, Germany, Holland, Denmark, Sweden, Norway, England, Ireland, or America, or in any other kingdom or territory I shall come to, and do my uttermost to extirpate the heretical Protestants or liberal doctrines, and to destroy all their pretended powers, regal or otherwise. I do further promise and declare that notwithstanding I am dispensed with to assume my religion heretical, for the propaganda of the Mother Church's interest, to keep secret and private at her agents' councils from time to time, and they may entrust me in not to divulge directly or indirectly the word, writing, or circumstance whatever, but to execute all that shall be proposed, given in charge, or discovered unto me by you, my ghostly father, or any of the sacred covenant. I further promise and declare that I will have no opinion or will of my own, or any mental reservation whatsoever, even as a corpse or a cadaver, but will unhesitatingly obey each and every command that I may receive from my superiors in the militia of the Pope of Jesus Christ, that I may go to any part of the world wheresoever I may be sent, to the frozen regions of the north, the burning sands of the deserts of Africa, and the jungles of India, the centers of civilization of Europe, or to the wild haunts of the barbarous savages of America, without murmuring or repining, and will be submissive in all things whatsoever communicated me. I furthermore promise that I declare that I will, when opportunity present, make and wage relentless war, secretly or openly, against all heretics, Protestants, and liberals, as I am directed to do, to extirpate and exterminate them from the face of the whole earth, and that I will spare neither age, sex, condition. I will hang, waste, boil, flay, strangle, bury alive these infamous heretics, rip up the stomachs and wombs of their women, and crush their infants' heads against the walls in order to annihilate forever their execrable race. That when the same cannot be done openly, I will secretly use the poison cup, the strangulating cord, the steel of the poniard, or the leaden bullet, regardless of the honor or rank, dignity, or authority of the person or persons. Whatever may be their condition in life, either public or private, as I at any time may be directed to do so to any agent of the Pope or superior of the Brotherhood of the Holy Faith of the Society of Jesus. In confirmation which I hereby dedicate my life, my soul, and all my corporal powers, and with this dagger which I now receive, I will subscribe my name written in my own blood and testimony thereof, and should I prove false or weaken in my determination, may my brethren and my fellow soldiers of the militia or the Pope cut off my hands and feet, and my throat from ear to ear, and belly opened and sulfur burned therein, with all the punishment that can be inflicted upon me on earth, and my soul tortured by demons in eternal hell forever. As of which I do swear by the blessed Trinity and blessed sacraments, which I am now to receive, to perform, and on my part to keep inviolable and due call the heavenly and glorious host of heaven, to witness the blessed sacrament of the Eucharist, and witness the same further with my name written, and with the point of this dagger dipped in my own blood, and sealed in the face of this holy covenant. He receives the wafer from the superior, and writes his name with the point of the dagger dipped in his own blood, taken from over his heart. Superior: you will now rise to your feet, and I will instruct you in the catechism necessary to make yourself known to any member of the Society of Jesus belonging to this rank. In the first place, you as a brother Jesuit will another mutually make the ordinary sign of the cross, as an ordinary Roman Catholic would. Then one cross his wrist, the palms of his hands open, and the other in answers crosses his feet, one above the other. The first points with the forefinger on the right hand to the center of the palm of the left, and the other with the forefinger of the left hand points to the center of the palm of the right. The first then with the right hand makes a circle around his head, touching it. Other than with the forefinger, and his left hand touches the left side of his body just below his heart, and then with his right hand he draws it across the throat of the other, and the latter then with a dagger down the stomach and abdomen of the first. The first then says Lustum, and other answers Nicar, and the first Regis. The other answers impious, this meaning of which has already been explained. The first will then present a small piece of paper folded in a peculiar manner 4 times, while the other will cut longitudinally. On opening the name, Jesuit will be found written upon the head and the arms of the cross 3 times, and you will then give and receive with him following questions and answers. And here are the questions. Question: from whither do you come? Answer: the Holy Faith. Question: whom do you serve? Answer: the Holy Father at Rome, the Pope, and the Roman Catholic Church, universal throughout the world. Question: who commands you? Answer: the successor of Saint Ignatius Loyola, the founder of the Society of Jesus, or of the Soldiers of Jesus Christ. Question: who received you? Answer: a venerable man in white hair. Question: how? Answer: with a naked dagger, kneeling upon the cross beneath the banners of the Pope and of our sacred order. Question: did you take an oath? Answer: I did, to destroy heretics and their governments and rulers, and to spare neither age, sex, nor condition, to be a corpse without any opinion of my own, but to implicitly obey my superiors in all things without hesitation or murmuring. Question: will you do that? Answer: I will. Question: how do you travel? Answer: in the bank of Peter the fisherman. Question: whither do you travel? Answer: to the 4 quarters of the globe. Question: for what purpose? Answer: to obey the orders of my general and superiors and execute the will of the Pope faithfully, fulfill the conditions of my many oaths. And question: O ye then into the world and take possession of the lands in the name of the Pope, and he who will not accept him as vicar of Jesus and his vice regent on earth, let him be accursed and exterminated. Would you like to purely biblical proofs as to the Antichrist, please? You need further study. Wow. So there you have it. That's and there you have it, really. So that's the extreme Jesuit oath of induction. So those of you that have never heard that, that's a little treat for you right there. I'm also going to show you something else from the father of Freemasonry, just to kind of show you a little bit more as we're getting deeper into the hidden hand here. And show you the plans. This is a letter to Mazzini, 1871, from the grandfather of Freemasonry, Albert Pike. Now tell me if this sounds familiar. Albert Pike letter to Mazzini. And this is the Illuminati plan for 3 world wars. The following is a letter that speculation claimed that Albert Pike wrote to Giuseppe Mazzini in 1871 regarding a conspiracy involving 3 world wars that were planned in an attempt, that is insane, isn't it? In an attempt to take over the world. This is a letter to, and think about the extreme oath of induction, and now think about it during this letter, and then wait till we go, and then we're going to do the interview next, and wait till you hear the interview. It's going to fucking blow you away. All right. Giuseppe Mazzini was an Italian revolutionary leader in the mid-1800s, as well as a director of the Illuminati. Pike, historio-Masonic figure, was a 33rd degree Freemason, occultist, grandmaster, and creator of the southern jurisdiction of the Masonic Scottish Rite Order. The following is apparently extracts from this letter showing how the 3 world wars would have been planned for many generations, and this is from 1871. And see how accurate this is. It's not very long either. So, the First World War. The First World War must be brought about in order to permit the Illuminati to overthrow the power of the czars in Russia and making that country a fortress of atheistic communism. The divergences caused by the agentur, or agents of the Illuminati, between the British and Germanic empires will be used to foment this war. At the end of the war, communism will be built and used in order to destroy the other governments and in order to weaken the religions. Check. Right? That happened. Second World War must be fomented by taking advantage of the differences between the fascists and political Zionists. This war must be brought about so that Nazism is destroyed and that political Zionism be strong enough to institute a sovereign state of Israel in Palestine. During the Second World War, international communism must be strong enough in order to balance Christendom, which would be then restrained and held in check until the time when we would need it for the final social cataclysm. Check. That also happened. The Third World War. You're in the midst of this right now. The Third World War must be fomented by taking advantage of the differences caused by the agentur of the Illuminati between the political Zionists and the leaders of the Islamic world. The war must be conducted in such a way that Islam, the Muslim Arabic world, and political Zionism, the state of Israel, mutually destroy each other. Meanwhile, the other nations, once more divided on the issue, will be constrained to fight to the point of complete physical, moral, spiritual, and economical exhaustion. We shall unleash the nihilist and the atheist, and we shall provoke a formidable social cataclysm which in all its horror will show clearly to the nations the effect of absolute atheism, origin of savagery, and of the most bloody turmoil. Then everywhere, the citizens, obliged to defend themselves against the world minority of revolutionaries, will exterminate these destroyers of civilization, the multitude disillusioned with Christianity, whose deistic spirits will from that moment be without compass or direction, anxious for an ideal, but without knowing where to render its adoration, will receive the true light through the universal manifestation of the pure doctrine of Lucifer, brought finally out into public view. This manifestation will result from the general reactionary movement, which will follow the destruction of Christianity and atheism, both conquered and exterminated at the same time. And you can see here Pike and, him dressed up in his Masonic gear here. And let me show you one more thing, too. Just to kind of bury it home deeper. Just so you can see where all this goes. This is what everything's been founded on, the Bavarian Illuminati. Bavarian Illuminati, perhaps the most closely associated with the name Illuminati, short-lived movement of Republican free thought, was founded on May of day 1776 by Adam Weishaupt, professor of canon law of Ingolstadt and former Jesuit. And let's see if we can pull this up more. And, where's it at? And Jesuit lines of internal discipline and a system of mutual surveillance based on that model. Its members pledged obedience to their superiors and were divided in three main classes. The first included novices or minervals and lesser Illuminati. The second consisted of Freemasons, ordinary, Scottish, and Scottish Knights, and the third, mystery class, comprised two grades of priest and regent, as well as magus and king. Beginning with the narrow circle of disciples carefully selected from among his own students, Weishaupt gradually extended his recruitment efforts from Ingolstadt to Eckstadt, Freising, Munich, and elsewhere, with special attention being given to the enlistment of young men of wealth, rank, and social importance. From 1778 onward, Weishaupt's Illuminati began to make contact with various Masonic lodges where, under the impulse of Adolf Franz Friedrich Freiherr von Sieg, one of their chief converts, they often managed to gain a commanding position. It was Krieg that society was indebted to for extremely elaborate constitution, never, however, actually realized, as well as his internal communication system. Each member of the order had given him a special name, generally classical, by which he alone was addressed in official writing. Weishaupt was referred to as Spartacus, with Nieg was Philo, and all internal correspondence was conducted in cipher. And to increase the mystification, towns and provinces were invested with new and altogether arbitrary designations. At the period of the greatest development, Weishaupt's Bavarian Illuminati included its operations in a very wide area, extending from Italy to Denmark to Warsaw to Paris. At no time, however, do its numbers appear to have exceeded 2,000. The order and its doctrines appealed to literary giants such as Johann Wolfgang von Goethe and Johann Gottfried von Herder, as well as a Duke Ernest II of Gotha and Charles Augustus and Saxe-Weimar-Eisenach. Such notables were claimed as members, although as questionable as if they were actually so. Weishaupt's Illuminati were believed to have included astronomer Johann Bode and writer and bookseller Friedrich Nicolai, philosopher Friedrich Jacobi, and poet Friedrich Leopold, and Grafzu Stolberg. And that is the later Illuminati. After the suppression of Weishaupt's order, the title Illuminati was given to the French Martinists, founded in 1754 by Martinez Pasquale and propagated by Louis Claude de Saint Martin. 1719, Martinism had been spread to Russia by Johann George Schwartz, by Nikolai Nevikov. Both strains of illuminated Martinism included elements of Kabbalism and Christian mysticism, imbibing ideas from Jacob Boehme and Emanuel Swedenborg. The organizational culture, conventionally defined as the ensemble of beliefs, assumptions, values, norms, artifacts, symbols, actions, language patterns shared by all members of an organization. In this view, culture is thought to be an acquired body of knowledge whose interpretation and understanding provide the identity of the organization and a sense of shared identity among its members. This approach assumes charity of organization-wide consensus among members and discounts ambiguity. However, organizational cultures can also be viewed from at least two other perspectives. A different perspective centers on the whole, but rather not the consensus reached within the different subcultures of the organization, which often conflict with each other. Outside confines of subcultures, ambiguity and inconsistency exist organization-wide. Example given where members may say one thing and do another. Yet another approach discounts consistency as defining characteristics of culture and focuses on ambiguity as the essence of culture. Here, agreement and disagreement are constantly changing, and no stable organization-wide or subculture consensus exists. And let me show you something else, too, while we're at it. Well, remember, in the Bible, it says, on this rock I build my church, as he's talking to Peter. Peter was crucified upside down. That's part of, the initiation ritual, right? That's what the Sumerians are depicting when they got that magnet in their hand, and that pine cone in their other hand, right? Is the inverted T, or the T being flipped upside down. That's you crucifying yourself upside down, and your spiritual self being crucified right side up. Let's go to now. See if we can pull this up. I got a couple things I want to show you, and then we're going to read the letter. I just want to give you some of the cool backgrounds of some of this stuff. Let's see if we can pull this up. The Hippocrates Oath. And here we go. This is the Hippocratic Oath. I swear before my gods and ancestors, my teachers and fellow healers and apprentices, and by all the arts and knowledge I was privileged to learn, that I will stand by these words. I will love those who taught me these arts, and I love them and love my parents, and I will offer my skills to the young and to the same generosity that they were given to me, and I will never ask them for gold, but demand that they stand by this covenant in return. I also swear that if I earn fame and wealth, I will share it with my masters and my students. I will soothe the pain of anyone who needs my art. And if I don't know how, I'll seek the counsel of my teachers. I will offer those who suffer all my attention, my science and love. Never will I betray them or risk or their well-being to satisfy my vanity. I will not hurt my fellow or put a knife to his flesh, and I don't know how, or give him an herb to soothe his pain, even if he begs for it in anguish, if it might take away his breath. I will never harm my suffering friend, because life is sacred. From the tender fruit that once was in his mother's womb to the first sigh he gave out between her legs when he opened his eyes to the world, I will try to understand his sorrows, but his secrets will never leave my ears. Under no circumstance I will use his body to advance my knowledge or my fame, unless in his last moment he or his widow give me his corpse, so that his death may help me understand how to soothe another's pain. I pray the attention I give to those who put themselves in my hands be rewarded with happiness. And in honor of the knowledge I received from my teachers, I swear to care for anyone who suffers, prince or slave. If I ever break this oath, let my gods take away my knowledge of this art and of my health. Here speaks a citizen, a servant of people. May I be destroyed if I betray these words. And this was Hippocrates' Oath. Here's the Hippocratic Oath today. And this is the eldest binding document in history, written in antiquity, and principles are held sacred by doctors to this day. And remember, the doctor's staff, the serpent staff, is the caduceus, right? And the goddess of, Pharmakia, right? Or Hecate, the goddess of, sexual promiscuity, Pharmakia, witchcraft, and idolatry. Right, this all goes in line with the Babylonian system and these Babylonian mysteries. So these different oaths and rituals are all kind of part of this system, So let's go here. I want to show you. Let's see if I got it right here. Where is it at? Before we get into there, right here. Here is the hidden hand interview. And this is the good shit, guys. I want everybody in the chat right now to hit that thumbs up for me. Everybody in the chat to hit that thumbs up for me. And if, you disagree with some of the things that have been read tonight, if you find, the Jesuits, Freemasons, Knights Templars, and remember, all this kind of comes together. And I should even pull up the Necronomicon just to give you guys a little bit on the Mad Arab too, so you can see exactly more of the origins of this. And if we have time, we'll go look at that. Well, let's see if we can go to the books here. Reference books, enter the key of the secret worlds. I don't know if I have the Necronomicon up on here. Let's see, guys. I'll try to find. I've got a lot of books here. Secret Doctrine of the Rosicrucians. Let's see if we can find Art of Mysticism. Let me try to find this, guys, for you guys. I think it's this one right here. There we go. Cthulhu's Mythos. And one more I'll pull up too, just to kind of Secret Doctrine of the Rosicrucians as well for you guys. Might as well bring out all the mysteries, right, while we're at it. Alright, so let's see if we can bring back up the chat too. There we go. That's insane. And everybody in the chat, let me know if you guys can still hear me and see me fine. I want to make sure that the chat's still going good here. If you can, let me know if you guys can still hear everything and if this is making sense to you. Because I can't really tell what's going on with the chat here. So looks like the chat's not moving on my end. Alright, let's make sure that we're still going here on YouTube. Yeah, looks like we're going, so okay. Guess we're going. And I got one more thing too I want to pull up. We're going to pull up a video as well. This is going to show you, part of a ritual, right? And this is real deal, real deal ritual, inside of Bohemian Grove, right? So this is some of the things that take place behind the scenes of, a lot of this shit that most people never get a chance to see or never get a chance to be made aware of. Here we go. Bohemian Grove. Let's see. How long is that one? That's part 2. Let's forget what the name of the actual video is. Bohemian Club, I think it's right here. Right there it is. I just seen it. I think it's right here. This is, and we're gonna
locutor de radio y televisión.
And this is literally, this is older than dirt, guys. I don't know how many of you guys are familiar with this video. This is from Alex Jones. Alright, you guys can hear. Thank you so much. I see you over on Facebook. Check this out. This is inside Bohemian Grove. Remember, we've talked about Adam Weishaupt and the Bavarian Illuminati. We've talked about the Knights Templars. Kind of where it all originated. We're going to get into the Mad Arab and Ishmaelism and the Cthulhu's Mythos here in a second. You guys will see where it all kind of originates. Went to the Knights Templars, then kind of, evolved, into other orders, Eastern India, We're also going to talk about, and then, from Bavarian to Bohemian, this is San Francisco, where the capital of the OTO is, Redwood Forest. This is where you have Bohemian Grove. This is where you have a lot of these things that are taking place, and a lot of people don't make connect the dots. But these mystery schools, they all kind of go back to, these Jesuit orders and these oaths that are taken, right? These are the principles that the United States are built on. If you look at the Statue of Liberty, it's gifted by France, Merovingian illuminati, which is supposed to be the bloodline of Jesus. I took you through the bloodlines and how it all connects to the bloodlines, the blue bloods, the Anunnaki, and that it's a hierarchical system of, priests and kings, and even the ranks and degrees go by that, right? By kings and all of that. So this shows you where it originates. These are the descendants of the gods. This is the right into the heavens and the courts of the heavens above. So let's take a look.
Oh tú, aquí te has...
O thou thus ferried across the shadowy side, in all the ancient majesty of death, dull care, ardent enemy of loyalty, not for thee the forgiveness of the restful grave. Fire shall have its will of thee, and all the winds make merry of thy dust. Bring fire. This is a cremation of care, Bohemian Grove. And we're not going to show very much of this, and we need to hit pause. We can't let it go too long, or they'll hit us with the little copyright strike. I'm only going to give you a little bit of this before we switch to this in hand. And you see them bringing the fire over into the ritual. Crossing the river Styx here on the boat. You see all the priests lined up over the big giant statue of Moloch.
Tontos.
Fools! Fools! And we're not. When will ye learn? That cannot stay? Year after year you burn me in this grove, lifting up your puny shouts of triumph to the stars? When again ye turn your faces to the marketplace, do ye not find me waiting as of old? Fools! Fools! Fools to dream you conqueror care! Say thou mocking spirit, it's not all a dream. We know thou waiteth for us. When this our Sylvian holiday has ended, we shall meet thee and fight thee of old, and some of us prevail against thee, and some thou shalt destroy. But this too we know. Year after year within this happy grove, our fellowship bands thee for a space. This malevolence which proves pursue has lost its power under these friendly trees. So shall we burn thee once again this night, and with the flames that eat thine effigy. And we shall read the sign, and the effigy is of a child. Midsummer sets us free. Ye shall burn me once again. Not with these flames, which hither you have brought from regions where I reign, ye fools and priests. I spit upon your fire, and remember, spitting as part of the Knights Templar ritual.
O búho, príncipe.
An owl, prince of all mortal wisdom. Owl of Bohemia, we beseech thee, grant us thy counsel. No fire, no fire, no fire.
Ningún fuego.
Unless it be kindled. In the world where care is, nourished is the hates of men. Nourished on the hates of men, and drive him from this grove. And you see the giant owl right there, guys. Right there. And I'm going to leave it at that. You can see that is the cremation of care ritual. Very, very gnarly. We will get into the Mad Arab in just a minute. But first, let's go to the hidden hand here. Let me go down to the part I want to get to, though. Right here. Yeah, right here. Since the publication of this book in December 1977, this is Necronomicon, by the way. Okay? I'm just going to read the little beginning here. A long-time pilgrim in search for the genuine Necronomicon, which we knew since childhood really existed, was suitably impressed, shocked actually. He asked to see the dubious personality who claimed responsibility for the editing and general research work that went into that volume. Let me pull up the chat too. I would love to hear what you guys have to say. I would love to see your comments right now, guys. If you have some comments, please drop your comments in the comment section. I would love to hear your thoughts on these rituals. What do you make of it? Anything, for real. All right. The exotic individual, Simon by name, appeared suddenly one day in the living quarters, attired in a beret and a suit of some dark fibrous material, and attached a case contained, besides correspondence from Balkan embassies, photograph of the FO-14 fighter being carried up to shipment in Luxembourg, additional material on the Necronomicon, which proved his bona fides. Also at the meeting was a third member of the Unholy Trinity, James Wasserman of Studio 31, who, according to South American cult leader, died during the last year, but who had been able, with assistance from the Stone of the Wise and certain formulae in this book, to go on about his business like unto a living man. With Simon's manuscript, Barnes's occult vision and aesthetic scruples, and Westerman's production experience and tireless labor, a board Necronomicon began to take shape, and the first edition smote the stands on December 22nd, 1977, the ancient pagan feast of Yule, the winter solstice. Yet not without a number of bizarre occurrences and more than once threatened the lives, the sanity, and the astral bodies of the three individuals more deeply involved. Jim Wasserman was subjected to what we may vaguely refer to as poltergeist activity during the time he worked on production and design aspects of the book. A room which, for a certain loathsome purposes, was always kept locked was found one day to have been opened from the inside. In the same building, just below his loft, the typesetters were set upon swarms of rats. The discoveries of a small Hindu idol that had been lost signaled the end to the plague, and the rats disappeared. Simon usually lives in fear of his life for reasons that do not always have to do with the Necronomicon. However, he has been subject to constant surveillance by the Ancient Ones, as they await one slip, the single misstep that they will provide for them the entry they earnestly desire into this world. L.K. Barnes, on the other hand, had no rest for whatever the signals and messages for the extraterrestrial intelligences that were overseers and the guardians of this book's publication. He's been plagued by unremitting chain of numerological events which he cannot ignore. The predominance of the numbers 13, 333, 555, 666, and others too arcane to bear mentioning have been made his life a demonstration. Read demonstration of Jungian synchronicity patterns. Also, his printing of a beautiful full-colored Dendros zodiac in the first anniversary of Necronomicon's publication in 1978 precipitated a rash of UFO sightings in Australia and New Zealand, in which one pilot had disappeared. Bizarre occurrences. Where am I at? The Necronomicon. Bizarre occurrences and humorous coincidences aside for the moment, the Necronomicon caused changes in the conscience of the people most intimately involved with it, as well as many strangers who simply brought the book through the mail or the bookstore. Judging by the letters we've received in the last 2 years, the changes have been startling. Many have found the book's magic to work, and work extremely well. Others, having once attempted certain of the rituals, felt compelled to retire from the occult scene for lengthy periods of time. The mere fact that the book was generally considered never have existed and then found to exist after all is itself a powerful psychic influence, a fantasy come true, a dream realized in waking life. The quest for a lifetime search came to an end, the ultimate book of spells, the godfather of grimoires. Therefore, it is with awe and with something akin to dread that I address this second edition to the courageous reader of the Necronomicon. The beast has told us, I am the warrior lord of the 40s, the 80s cover before me and are abased. The edition of the Necronomicon is scheduled for early delivery in January and February 1980, making it possibly the first occult book of the 80s, a herald of doom or a harbinger of fate. Since the publication in 1977, ancient forces of erstwhile victory have been banging and clamoring at the gates. In the middle of killing spree and caliber killer known to the press of the Son of Sam, who motivated, according to recent reports, by membership in a satanic cult in Yonkers, several months after the capture of David Berkowitz in 1978, nearly 1,000 people killed themselves in Guyana at the orders of a crazed religious leader. Several months after that, the leader of a mystical Islamic sect seized power in Iran at the time of writing, is calling for a holy war against the infidel. There is evidence that every New Age witness of baptism by fire, Christians and Muslims are turning on each other and themselves. Israel once again in serious jeopardy, Buddhism being eradicated in Southeast Asia as it was in Tibet. The Ancient Ones, lords of a time before memory, are being drawn by the smell of confusion and the hysteria of mutual hatred in the primitive life forms on this planet, human beings. Unless the gates are secured against attack, unless humanity awakens to both real danger and real potential for evolution, Well, the vision of the mad Arab, ancestor of the Muslim princes so much in the news, is one certainly of terror. The discovery of this book, however, like the discovery of typesetters' idols, may be the key, the link in our defense against the possible enemy awaiting us. Outside, events of the 2 last years have shown us the book as an amulet, a protective shield that guards its own from the machinations of evil. Extraterrestrials are primevally elemental, alien beings, or subconscious expressions. They are powerless against us if we consider deeply the message of this book, and we take the seeming ranting of the Arab at face value for what they are: a warning, a weapon, and a wisdom. With these 3, we enter the new age of the crowned and conquering child, Horus, not in a slouch towards Bethlehem, but born within us at the moment we conquer the lurking fear in our own souls. I hope you guys are ready, man. The Necronomicon, some shiznit, and it's supposed to say that we are cursed if we read this book. Okay? So, just going to put that out there. Those of you who don't want anything to do with this. The mythos and the magic. And we're going to look at the mythos. And then we're going to jump into the final piece of the show, which is, I'm saving the best for last. So I'm trying to get you to hold on for the very best for last, which is the Hidden Hand interview. And it is fucking fascinating. So hang in there. Okay. We can profitably compare the essence of most Lovecraft short stories with the basic theme of Crowley's unique system of ceremonial magic. While the latter was sophisticated psychological structure intended to bring the initiate into contact with his higher self via a process of individuation that is active and dynamic, being brought about by the patient himself, as opposed to the passive depth analysis of Jungian adepts, Lovecraft's Cthulhu mythos was meant for entertainment. Scholars, of course, are able to find higher, ulterior motives in Lovecraft's writings, as can be done with any manifestation of art. And just to kind of show you too, a quick clip on what it is said that the old ones actually think about us. Right here.
So we had quantum computers that you can buy. Hoover for 25 years. And I find it super depressing that it seems to be so hard to generate world-changing